What if the most misunderstood man in Hogwarts lived long enough to hear the words, "You were right"? Severus Snape spent nearly 2 decades risking everything as a double agent, only to die branded a traitor. But what if Nagini's attack hadn't been the end? In the original story, Voldemort believes the Elder Wand belongs to Snape because Snape killed Dumbledore. Acting on that false assumption, he orders Nagini to kill him in the Shrieking Shack. Before dying, Snape gives Harry his memories, revealing the truth about his loyalty, his promise to Dumbledore, and the sacrifice that defined his entire life. But let's change one moment. Harry still reaches Snape in time. He still receives the memories. But instead of taking his final breath, Snape survives long enough to receive proper magical treatment after the Battle of Hogwarts. And suddenly, the wizarding world faces an uncomfortable truth. The man they spent years calling a Death Eater, a bully, and a murderer turns out to be one of the greatest sots in magical history. His killing of Dumbledore wasn't an act of betrayal. It was part of Dumbledore's own plan. Every cruel decision that seemed to strengthen Voldemort's trust was actually helping bring about Voldemort's downfall. How would people react? Harry would almost certainly become Snape's strongest defender. After seeing The Prince's Tale, Harry understands something no one else ever fully could. Snape never stopped protecting him, even when Harry believed he hated him. It's hard to imagine Harry allowing history to remember Snape as a villain. But redemption wouldn't be simple. The students Snape taught still remember years of harsh treatment. Neville would remember living in fear of potions. Hermione would remember constant criticism despite being one of the brightest witches of her age. Snape's bravery doesn't erase his flaws, and Snape himself probably wouldn't ask for forgiveness. That's what makes his character so compelling. He never sought applause. He acted because he believed it was the right thing to do, not because he expected gratitude. Even if the entire wizarding world praised him as a hero, he'd likely return to a quiet life, uncomfortable with the attention. The biggest change, though, would be at Hogwarts. With Voldemort gone, the school would need experienced professors to rebuild. Could Snape finally become the teacher Dumbledore always believed he could be? Free from maintaining a cover, free from serving two masters, perhaps students would meet a very different Severus Snape. Not kinder overnight, but more honest, less burdened, finally able to teach without carrying the weight of an impossible secret. And maybe that's the greatest tragedy of all. Snape spent his entire adult life preparing for a future he never got to live in. So if he had survived, would the wizarding world have finally accepted him? Or would he have remained a hero that many people still struggle to understand? If you enjoyed this Harry Potter What If, subscribe to Spellhaven, because sometimes the stories that almost happened are just as fascinating as the ones that did.